Alongside the runway, a hush settles over the crowd as the megaplane comes into view. Gradually, it gathers speed, accelerating to reach its takeoff velocity of 269 kilometers per hour. Then, as it nears the end of the runway, the moment of truth. The massive nose tilts skyward. A sliver of daylight appears beneath the rear wheels, and the Airbus A380 takes to the sky for the very first time. The engineers and technicians in the crowd breathe a collective sigh of relief. Their baby is flying.
Their baby is flying. It sounds like the voiceover to War of the Worlds is what it reminds me of, or Leo Enright's commentating on the taking off of Apollo 11 all the way back in 1969.
You don't want to know what I thought it sounded like.
No, it didn't. The world's largest passenger airliner, the Airbus A380, takes to the skies for the first time. That's what you were hearing there, and that was back in 2005. I can't believe it was 2005. In fact, we sure it was 2005? That was the test run or something like that. Anyway, because it only came into operation some airlines in the last couple of years, I'm sure. Anyway, on September 15th, people will get a chance to see this enormous aircraft up close and personal when it flies right through Dublin city centre, over the city centre. I don't think it's going to fly through the city centre. It's part of a spectacular, once-in-a-lifetime flight past 30 aircraft, including Boeing 737s and the 1940s B-17 Flying Fortress, will fly from Dublin Port up the River Liffey as far as the Customs House over a 2-hour period. Peter Kearney is Director of Operations at the Irish Aviation Authority, and he's been involved in organising the event. Peter, you're very welcome to the programme. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much, Jerry.
It's not going to fly through the city. I presume it is going to fly over the city just to put people's minds at rest.
Absolutely, yeah. We have lined up a very spectacular lineup of the world's largest commercial airplanes to fly over Dublin City at about 800 feet on the 15th of September. So at this point, a little update, we've 35 airplanes lined up. We have an airplane from every decade since 1930. We start off with an airplane which was the first Aer Lingus aircraft. It operated scheduled service for Aer Lingus from Baldonnel into the UK in 1936, and it's called the Uller, the de Havilland Dragon. So that's a pretty famous airplane in terms of Irish aviation history, and we'll work all the way up through every decade right up to the Airbus A380, which is the most modern, the biggest commercial airplane in the world at the moment.
So was it unveiled? I mean, the first flight was 2005. That was a test flight, I presume, was it? I mean, when did it come into operation for passengers?
It's been in operation for passengers probably for about the last 3 years. In the run-up to 2005, we entertained the Airbus A380 in Shannon. Shannon has a nice long runway. It gets some nice crosswinds there, and Airbus brought the airplane to Ireland to do crosswind landing testing.
Really? So, explain that to the uninitiated.
Yeah, so what happens is when they're testing an airplane, a brand new airplane, they put it through a whole series of various tests. They test the brakes, they test lots of speed, stalls, all that sort of stuff. And one of the tests they like to do is how does it perform if the wind is blowing across the runway rather than straight down the runway, because an airplane always wants to land into the wind with the wind down its nose.
Head to wind, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely, but pilots need to be able to manage it in conditions where they don't get the wind straight down. So in Shannon in particular, sometimes we get some nice crosswinds there, and so it's a great test bed, because they can operate all around Shannon and test these airplanes and get the results they want.
Because you'd be pretty nervous landing that thing for the first time with a big crosswind, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a big aircraft.
But it's incredibly advanced, Eric, and the technologies on board, effectively these airplanes fly themselves.
Yeah.
They have auto-land capability. The crew can sit back and allow the aircraft to land. It'll taxi on the stand. Very advanced. They can do, yes.
Do they?
Yes, they do. If the weather is sufficiently poor, if the crew are trained to use all the technology on board and the aircraft is capable, why not?
I wonder how often it actually happens, because most aircraft can do that nowadays.
Yes, they can.
And it's only a matter of time before you see it on every motor car as well. Some cars already have it. They can park assist, they call it. They can park themselves. You just pull up alongside the space. It'll actually tell you.
That's right.
In some instances whether it'll fit in.
That's right. My friend has
then
one.
It parks itself.
My friend has one. She calls it the girly button.
Yeah.
She presses the girly button and away it goes.
They need them.
Right. Is it not for that? Oh look, there's a couple of women outside who aren't happy, boys.
Tough. But it's true. Anyway, Shannon's very important for all sorts of aircraft, isn't it? For all sorts of reasons. I mean, you can hardly fly into Europe without passing through airspace in Shannon.
Shannon's incredibly important to us, and our facility in Shannon is very important to Ireland. I mean, just a little bit of background about who we are, Derek. We're the Irish Aviation Authority. We're a semi-state body. Last year, we generated a profit of 27.5 million. We don't receive any state funding, nothing from the taxpayer, and we delivered dividend of €5 million back to the shareholder, back to the government. And we do that, Derek, because we look after 451,000 square miles of airspace around Ireland, and we have a really critical geographical position because we are the gateway for aircraft that transit between Europe and the United States. So on a daily basis, my team and Shannon look after 1,300 aircraft that will fly between the United States and Europe. They'll never land at an Irish airport, but we manage them safely and efficiently through the airspace. So every sort of an airplane, Boeing 757, 76, the 777, the 787, the Airbus 380, we see them all. And
Concorde?
We had a Concorde in the past, we did, and that was a very
Air Force One when
yes,
on its journeys.
We take all those. Concorde was a really interesting one there. He would come out of Heathrow, very special call sign, Speedbird Concorde 1. And you always knew they were coming. And we managed a really critical phase of the flight. It's called the part where they go into supersonic speed, where they're breaking the speed of sound. Yeah. They climb up to 60,000 feet, they put full power on, and up they go.
And bang.
And bang. Absolutely.
But I mean, when there were a lot of complaints, well, I don't know if there were complaints, but certainly people noticed it because they did a lot of the test flights out of Shannon as well.
That's right.
In the early days for Concorde.
They did, and they would have also used Concorde, they would have brought Concorde to Shannon for crew training. They would have trained the pilots in circuits, so we would have experienced them coming along, bashing circuits, we call it, flying around the circuit of the runway and giving the pilots engine failures, different manoeuvres to teach the pilots.
Do they actually give it engine?
Yeah, they fail an engine technically. Yeah.
Well, how many can it fly on? How many could it fly on?
It would fly perfectly well with one engine, no problem.
And would the A380 fly with one engine?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. They're all designed to do that. In fact, one of the things we have to be conscious of in planning for FlightFest is that in the event that an airplane has an engine failure during the event, what will happen? Most of these airplanes are twin engine and they can fly perfectly well on one engine. So there's no worry.
You mentioned that you returned €5 million dividend to the Irish state, to the taxpayer, in effect to the Department of Finance. How? I mean, every time I say hello to Shannon, air traffic control, am I paying you money? Do I put money in the meter? Or what way does it work?
How it works, it's quite interesting. How it works, Derek, is that we charge a unit rate for an aircraft to operate in Irish airspace. Now, the IAA are a pretty innovative organisation. We charge the lowest unit rate in Europe. So for an aircraft to fly through Irish airspace, he pays the lowest navigation fee anywhere in Europe, and it's calculated then on the distance the aircraft flies and the weight of the aircraft. So for instance, the A380, as the world's biggest airplane at about 469 tons, he pays us about €1,200 to fly through our airspace.
No way.
Yeah,
are you serious? That's a lot of money.
It's fantastic money.
I thought you were going to say 20 quid. It's like a toll.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we do that in every country. If it's going to Spain,
it does.
France.
Yes. Yeah, so if we charge him €28.20. For instance, in the UK they charge almost €90, €90 I should say, €90. So they're 3 times the cost to provide the same service. So we have a very lean, a very efficient organisation that provides a really good service to the airlines that operate within Irish airspace. So we're very well thought of actually in the world of aviation, and that's typically people who are involved in the aviation industry in Ireland. That's the experience. If you think of it, Derek, about 50% of the aircraft around the world who are leased are managed from Ireland. There are fantastic companies that are operating in the IFSC. They're there in Bowles Bridge, they're down in Shannon, and they are managing aircraft, everything from 737s to 777s. If I give you two who are supporting us really strongly in this, one company called Avalon, they have 176 large commercial airplanes, everything from a 737 to a 777. There's another very good one, SMBC, again very supportive of this event. They have 247 narrow body aircraft, and they're all being managed from Ireland. And they're operating scheduled services for airlines all around the world, South America, into Europe, into Russia. So, we have a real global reach. One of the airplanes that's coming to take part in FlightFest, Derek, is an Etihad Airbus A340. And there's a very good Irish guy who's working out there who we know very well, who's been able to work that one for us. And normally Etihad run a flight from Abu Dhabi to Manchester on an Airbus 330. For this event, he has changed the aircraft to be an Airbus 340, and they will take it to Manchester, take all the passengers off, and then they'll take the passengers they'll take the aircraft then from Manchester to Dublin for our event.
Why do they do it?
They do it
because good PR?
Well, there's PR for them, but they also want to support what we're doing. They also want to highlight the significance of aviation and Irish aviation around the world. They want to support the gathering. So, that's the whole idea.
The gathering of aircraft.
Absolutely. This is the gathering of aircraft. For people to get a sense of this, Derek, imagine a parade, the St. Patrick's Day parade, except it's aircraft passing through the sky at 800 feet. I mean, this will be phenomenal, and it's a family day. So bring your family, because we have fun fairs, we have face painting, there'll be lots of stalls, there'll be lots to do.
I think they're going to be able to clear the spire.
Oh, no problem with the spire.
What's the tallest structure we have in Dublin?
Well,
is it City Hall or is it the spire?
One of the most important actually for what we're doing are the pigeon house chimneys, and they're 694 feet.
Okay, and you're going 800 feet, so why you just be skimming the top of
We will be, well, we're well north of them in fact, so the aircraft will come in north and they're well clear, so there's no issue there at all. So and they're so big, would this be like the Red Devils? Will you have a little formation of aircraft? Would they be going wingtip to wingtip? No.
Would there be any of that kind of stuff?
No, well, this is happening over the congested area of the city of town, over Dublin city, so it will be really a straight.
Just one aircraft after another.
It will, but there'll be one every 2.5 minutes, Derek, and they're flying at 180 knots. They're doing 3 miles a minute, so that's nice and slow for these big airplanes. You can imagine one of these guys coming down with flap one, nose up, coming along, and you're standing there underneath looking at this guy pass ahead.
How did you get permission to fly over a major city like Dublin?
Well,
because normally these things don't fly over cities when you see these sky fests. No. They're usually over airfields.
The first thing I think, Derek, is that you've hit the nail on the head. This will not happen anywhere else in Europe, probably around the world. Smaller versions of this will occur where you have a number of military aircraft, such as for the Queen's birthday in London. You'll have some aircraft fly across. But from our point of view, we have a natural amphitheatre there with the River Liffey. Anybody who's living in South County Dublin will have the opportunity to share in this. You'll see it from Dunleary Pier, you'll see it from Sandyman Strand. Fantastic. But in order to put this together, we've had to do an incredible project. We put together a team. We started about last April. We've done safety analysis, we've done project management, and at the moment the guys in Dublin Airport, the air traffic controllers who will work this, are involved in another simulation. So we've simulated all of this, and we've put all the airplanes into our simulator. We put the controllers working them as though it's for real. So these guys are slick at this now, and they just can't wait to do it. But
will there be normal aircraft flying on that day as well?
Yes, there will. So
are you going to have to reroute anything?
No, what we'll do is we will manage to keep Dublin Airport operating as normal, Derek. So there will be no impact at all on what happens at Dublin Airport. Passengers going on the flight have no issues at all that day. We'll have that operation, and we'll put a temporary air traffic control tower in the PwC building on the North Quays. And
presumably nobody has any time off that day in accident or emergency. Presumably every hospital is going to be fully staffed. I mean, if an aircraft, I don't want to put a damp on your parade sort of thing, but God forbid, and I presume you've sat down and you've thought about this.
Yeah.
If an aircraft comes down, what next? What do you do?
The risk associated with this, Derek, is incredibly low. There's a number of safety.
It has happened in the past, though.
It has. But what is happening here with these airplanes is perfectly normal for what airlines are doing. It's straight, it's level flight. There's no tricks. This is very safe operation. We do our own safety analysis. That's independently reviewed by the safety organisation internally within the IAA, and then in turn, each airline will do its own safety analysis of what their aircraft will do. So it's looked at from a safety perspective multiple times before this happens.
And a security point of view?
Well, we're working
you'd never fly this thing over Manhattan. You'd never get away with that.
No, but we're working very closely with Garda Síochána, so they will manage that aspect for us, and we'll do whatever they need us to do to make it absolutely safe.
That's a bit of a silly question, kind of a girly question. Say I went along and brought the kids, and we had the face painting, and we had this fabulous day, and they were all built up to see these fabulous Airbuses and everything fly over them. Do they not just go really fast, and then it's gone? And that's 10 seconds and we go home in the car.
They're so big and they're going to fly at
But do they not go very fast?
No, but what will happen on this, Brenda, if you were standing,
I saw the face paint
right,
on.
and imagine yourself now, you're with the family and you're standing somewhere between the Eastlink and Samuel Beckett, right? And these airplanes will be coming in by the Pigeon House chimneys. You're looking straight at them out of the river, so you see them coming at you at 800 feet. You can just imagine something like an Airbus A380. That is 469 tons. Put that into perspective for you, Brenda. That's 50 Dublin bus double-deckers. That's what's coming at you. And you'll see him as he approaches, and then he'll pass overhead, so you get the noise. I was with British Airways yesterday. We were planning this, and they have some nice ideas of how to make this a little bit more special. They'll put on a little bit of power. They'll do a nice climbing turn. So this will look amazing. And in the meantime, as he passes by, the next one is coming. So this is going to work very well.
It's going to appear like it's moving very, very slow. It's going to be like a massive elephant up in the sky, in effect. Will Aer Lingus be flying? What are they going to be flying?
Absolutely. Aer Lingus are really working really well with us. So they're putting in their Airbus 330. So if anybody who goes or planning to go at Christmas time to New York for shopping, that's what you go on. Their biggest airplane.
Their new jumbo.
Absolutely, yeah. They're putting in a very nice airplane, which is their retro A320. Have you seen that one, Derek?
The livery has been changed. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. That one will go in, and of course they'll put in the other, which is the 1936 airplane.
Right.
We have CityJet are putting in their RJ85. That's also known as the Whisper Jet. So it's a really quiet 4-engine airplane used for places where there's very short runways. It goes into London City, very short runway there, and it's painted up in the Leinster rugby colours. So that's pretty special.
Are they sponsors of Leinster Rugby?
Yes, they're involved with that. Ryanair are putting in a 737, one of the 737-800s.
Who's flying it?
We have the Etihad Airbus 340, and then we have one of the really nice ones is the B-17. So that's one of the airplanes. It was built in 1945. It's the Flying Fortress. Really interesting airplane. It's called the Sally B. It gets its name from the man who bought it. His girlfriend at the time was Ellie Sallingbow. He has subsequently passed away, but she now manages the airplane, and he named it after her, the Sally B. Beautiful, really painted, really. That's a fantastic airplane for people to see. One of the other ones that people would be really interested in is one called the Vulcan Bomber. Now this, Derek, is a really fantastic airplane. Huge, big delta wing.
I know the wings, swept back. I was trying to picture it in my head. The American Air Force used to fly that. Was one of them shot down over in Russia at one stage or something like that? Well, these are things that carry these long range.
This is a huge thing, but it's a UK strategic bomber. So it was built around the 1950s, 1960s, very active during the Cold War for the UK. This is the last remaining flying Vulcan bomber. In fact, I'd say this is probably the last time you'll see it in Irish airspace.
But it looks like just one piece. One
huge delta wing. This is really interesting. The crews who operated this, Derek, very interesting story. Crew of 5, 2 pilots and 3 operators down the back. Both of the pilots had ejection seats. The crew down the back didn't, and it created a lot of friction among the crews who had to operate them. So in the event of something going wrong,
the pilots were
out and these guys were left behind. Very interesting.
They were the kind of better educated folks at the front. You see, get them out, leave the plebs behind in the back. Isn't that what happens? Yeah. You guys came in for a bit of criticism, I believe, the other day in that Channel 4 documentary. So I'm not going to ask you anything about it. I'm going to save your blushes and see what comes out as the weeks and months and probably years pass. But anyway, you're not here to talk about that today, so it's not for me to do that with you. So listen, lots of people are very interested in this now. It says, Derek, I flew on an A380 from London to Singapore in November 2009. It was amazing. They came into operation around April 2008, says Dermot. Have you put bird strike into the simulation?
Yeah, we have, and we've done a huge amount of work.
Very good question.
Yeah, it is, and we've spent a lot of time. I personally spent a lot of time down there looking at the large seagulls. You know more about these than I do, Derek. But there are some seagulls down there. At the moment, they have young ones who are sort of getting a little bit older now. So
what's the breeding season?
Yeah,
July and August.
Yeah. So we have certainly considered them. What we're doing is we're putting in a pretty unique way of scaring them away. We have a company who will come along on the day, and they will play scare calls of hawks, falcons, all this sort of stuff, which will frighten the seagulls away. So actually, we won't have them.
No, they will. I mean, they fly falcons over rubbish tips and all that. Now, at Dublin Airport, I think they occasionally fly falcons. Do they still do it? I wonder.
They certainly do it in Baldon Airdrome.
In Baldon, do they? Yeah.
And the other thing, Derek, is, I mean, these are big airplanes coming down. They'll have their landing lights on. The birds will see them and they'll scatter. So, we don't have huge amount of issues with that.
What about the weather, Peter? Will that be a factor?
The weather possibly could be a factor. But look, when this happened in 1936, I read the newspaper reviews at the end of it. And the weather, it was a pretty similar year to this year. And they described it afterwards as being splendid. And I expect it to be the very same thing. I think the weather will be fantastic. So we're planning for a great day.
All of the plane watchers now are wanting to know, are any of these aircraft landing at Dublin Airport so they can go and see them?
Yeah, some will. Well, certainly the Aer Lingus, the Ryanair, the CityJet, the new Air RN80 or 600 will all operate out of Dublin. Some will operate out of Casement Aerodrome. All of the Irish Air Corps military aircraft will come out of there. Some of them, in fact, are coming from the UK. So they'll come across, they'll fly the circuit, and then they'll return back to the UK.
Somebody wants to know what frequency you'll be using on the day. People want to listen in.
They do, yeah. I don't have it yet, Derek. It's still part of the work we're doing, so I don't have one yet.
Will you be letting the public know?
We will, absolutely, because and part of on the day itself, we'll allow people to listen in.
Have you got the Dreamliner coming in?
We're working on the Dreamliner.
So are they.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's another fantastic airplane. Actually, ILFC, one of the people who I was talking about earlier, who do the leasing, they have put a 787 with Norwegian Air. So we're working to see if we can get a 787, really efficient airplane, and huge environmental savings off that plane. So hopefully we'll get one.
Is the Boeing 787 coming to Ireland? John in Limerick wants to know.
Yeah, that's a Dreamliner. We're working on that.
That is dream on, of course. Will the Vulcan land at Dublin Airport specifically? Somebody wants to know. Do you know if it's going to land there?
No, I don't anticipate that it will. They're very precious of that airplane. It's almost at the end of its life. It's the last one that's flying, and each time they land, they shut down. It's another cycle on the engine, so they're keen to reduce the number of that. So I expect they'll fly the circuit and go back to the UK.
John Gertie says we were lucky to fly on Singapore Airlines' first A380 to land at Heathrow. We were returning from a family holiday in March 2008, and when we landed, the airport fire truck sprayed an enormous arc of water over the plane to welcome it as it taxied to the stand. I'd love to get on one myself. It's a beautiful aircraft.
Oh, huge. Derek, I'll give you a good story, and I hope I didn't tell you this already, but the A380, to paint it, the British Airways one, 24 painters, took them 2 weeks, and they used 2,500 litres of paint.
How often does it get painted?
It's
a bit like the Golden Gate Bridge. You have to constantly do it.
No, I don't think they do, but they spend a lot of time keeping the airplane clean. So the cleaner it is, the less drag through the air and the more efficient it is. So airlines spend a lot of time making sure the airlines are clean. Some airlines don't put paint on them. American Airlines used not put any paint on. They kept the skin because they said the weight of the paint meant you were burning more fuel. Just a different philosophy.
Yeah, and when you see an aircraft at an airport, it's more than the airline that it's representing.
Yes.
It's representing in most situations the country. If you think of Air Force One when it lands, it's not just the President of America, it's America.
Yeah.
It's brand America and brand USA that's just come to town. And the same is British Airways A380. That's this big United Kingdom.
Absolutely.
The same when people see Aer Lingus, they think of Ireland. They don't just think of...
Right.
And when they see Ryanair, well, I don't know what to think. But anyway.
Well, you see a lot of Irish airlines, you'll see the Irish flag on them. So they carry the Irish flag on the tail of the airplane.
Yeah. But anyway, listen, well done. And the very best of luck with it. And I hope it goes really, really smoothly for you. Wish you the very best of luck. And I've no doubt you'll have hundreds of thousands of people out.
Well, everybody is
some spectacle. What's the date again?
15th of September.
15th. And will you be up in the air or will you be on the ground yourself? Because you're a pilot, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I do a little bit of flying. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be with my team on the balcony at PwC making it all happen, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. So the date again?
15th of September.
15th of September. What time?
Well, come early. I think the best thing to do is use public transport. Come on Irish Rail. Use Dublin Bus. Use the Luas. Use the Dart. That's what we're recommending. Come in for 11 o'clock. Have your lunch in town. Wander down. Take part in the festivities and watch the airplanes. Be a great day.
Fantastic. Peter, thank you very much indeed.